I'm glad y'all showed up. That's wonderful. Okay, anybody have a week? You had a life this week. Nobody had a life except one person. How many of you want to know God? Right here. Why do you want to know God? Why are you bothering even trying to find God?
I'm just learning, or I'm just starting to revisit God right now over these last few months.
And why?
I was out of my father, the devil, for years, and I saw some light, and I started coming back to church, and I started revisiting the idea of God more and more, and now I'm interested to know more, and I want to know more.
Right.
But maybe a few years ago that I would have felt differently.
I'm sorry?
A few years ago I would have felt differently.
So there was a period in your life where you were not concerned about God.
Yes.
And so what brought you to the point of being concerned? Like you want to know him?
I wasn't happy. I didn't feel happy. People around me weren't making me happy. And I had an inside feeling of happiness, but I didn't know how to get there. And once I started understanding God and learning more about them, I started to find happiness. It was a really weird sense inside of me, but the more I learned about him, the more I understood how to be happy,
yes,
and the more I want to learn about him.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Way in the back, why do you want to know him?
I want to know God because I want to have a personal relationship with him. I want to be one with him.
And why?
It makes me feel happy.
It makes you feel happy?
Yes.
And so, do you have that already?
Yeah, I have the happiness.
Is it from God?
Yes.
It is? How do you know it's from him?
Because he's revealed it to me.
Oh, so he gave you some happiness and then he revealed to you that he gave you the happiness?
Yes, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
And what made you decide to look for God?
Maybe not having God completely, or just a feeling of missing something.
How do you know that you didn't have God? I have a reason for asking this, and I'll tell you in a minute. How do you know you didn't have him? What made you know that?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Maybe if I'm still suffering.
I'm sorry?
If I'm still suffering. Yeah.
If you're still suffering?
Yes.
That will let you know that you did not find him?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you suffer now?
I don't think it's internally, no. So spiritually, I don't feel that way.
I'm sorry?
Spiritually, I don't feel that way.
But you're suffering externally, but not internally?
Sure, yes.
Oh, okay. How are you suffering externally?
Externally, maybe just having to do with my body or sleep, just different things like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand that.
Yeah.
Give the mic to the lady in front of you. You want to know God?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And how do you know that's what you want?
Because there's a promise of serenity and safety with God.
There's a promise of that? Mm-hmm. What does that mean, serenity and safety?
Well, people call it happiness, people call it whatever, but I think that, there's a promise of eternal life if you walk with God, if you accept God. And I think God is there to show us the way, how to live on earth among other people, and have a promise that you'll have a better life.
Who told you that?
I guess I got it from religion when I was a kid.
Right. You heard about that, and you believed it as a kid.
Yes.
And you. So how's that going for you? The God thing.
Pretty good, as long as I sort of remember it and try to walk with God. Sometimes I wander away and listen to other voices in my head, but when I feel like I'm close to God, I feel like I'm in a better place.
When you're close to God, you feel like, so there are times when you're not there, you go in and out of it.
I would say so. I mean, sometimes you despair. You
Right.
think that things aren't going to get better, or why did this have to happen to me? And then I just tell myself that there's a reason for it and that it'll make me stronger and I need to go get through it.
How serious are you about finding God?
I'm pretty serious. Yeah. I don't know how you measure that.
I'm counseling with a man in another state, way over yonder, and he called me because he broke up with his girlfriend. And he was like, really, you know how I feel when you break up with a woman? Anybody ever had that feeling? Isn't that something? What does it feel like when you break up with a woman?
If you felt like you loved that woman, then you're going to feel like the world is over.
Like
the
what?
end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't eat, you can't sleep.
Right. Can't eat, can't
You're
sleep.
sitting by the dock of the bay, watching the time go away. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Why do you think it feel that way?
Why does it feel that way? I mean, maybe we get that feeling of God with that woman.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or at least we think that's what it is. And
that's exactly what it is.
yeah. So.
Man, get a feeling of God. And so this guy called me out of nowhere. I thought, my girlfriend, I want God. I want to know God. Can you help me? I want God. And they're like, teach me how to pray and all that. Real serious about it, just freaking out. And so I said, okay, I'll help you. And so I helped him for a little while. And then he went and got his girlfriend back. And then he broke up with God. I haven't heard back from him since. Isn't that amazing? And the thing about it, he's back into the same old thing, so the outcome is going to be the same. Because she saved him again. Isn't that amazing? Did you ever broke up with a woman? Were you a player before you became a Christian?
A little bit.
Yeah, you look like a player.
No, not really. A couple times.
What did it feel like to break up with a woman?
Man, it's horrible. It's
Meaning what?
horrible. Like, you're sad, your stomach's turning,
Yeah.
you're thinking about her all day. You can't do nothing. You can't even sleep.
I know it.
Just looking at the phone.
All the sad songs sound good.
Yep.
Even the ones you didn't like before.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that men feel that when they break up with women?
Well, I guess there are enough songs about it that I guess some men feel that way, but I certainly don't think all men feel that way.
All those who have gotten into her feel that way.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't eat, can't sleep. They're sitting by the dock of the bay. What love got to do with it? I want my baby back. It's horrible. Some men want to commit suicide.
Well, women feel that way too.
Oh, they do? Mm-hmm. So you feel like that hurt like a loss.
Oh, yeah.
Really? And do you play the sad songs?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, that's nice to know. We're not the only ones suffering here. Some people seek him until they're happy with something, and then they stop.
Oh,
And then when things go wrong, they go back to it.
right.
Are you more serious than that?
I would say yes.
You are? Oh, okay. All right, let me ask. Are you interested in finding God?
I guess I could say I have, and I go back and forth like you just said, as you spoke of. You know, when times are bad, when things are bad, I kind of go to him in a past of my life when there's some deep things going on. I went to him, And then when things changed, I veered away. But in those times I veered away, I kind of became more spiritual and kind of tried to do things on my own without going to him. So
Right.
it's always good to have him, but in a nutshell, I'd say that's where.
So when things are well, you don't feel like you need him as much, right?
Unfortunately, yeah.
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 Like, thank you, God, for getting me through this. I'll come back later.
Slowly, don't want to just shut the door, but you kind of
Right.
lose your focus of, you kind of use him using him. in the-
Isn't that
time.
amazing? Using God.
It's the truth, though. It's how,
Yeah, it is the truth. I've been that way before, a long time ago, but, like when things are wrong, especially when you break up or something happens, you're like, oh, God, I'm so sorry. I'm bad. Help me. This time I'm going to stay with you, no matter what. You just lie to him and everything. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I was so wrong. Don't let my house burn down. And then you save the house, and then you're satisfied, and you forget it.
see you later.
Uh-huh. Isn't that amazing? Have you broken up with a woman and it tore you down? You were sad and hurt?
Hollow feeling, yeah.
Yeah.
Felt hollow and felt something was missing in my life after being with somebody for a while, and you don't have that part of your life there anymore.
Right.
Sure.
And did you try to get her back?
Tried.
And she wouldn't come back?
Things just didn't work out. We tried to reconcile, and things just didn't work out.
Yeah. Don't you hate those that don't come back at all?
It could.
Hey, I'm hurting here. I need you to come back. And then they come back and it doesn't work out. And you wish you had not brought them back. That way you might be over it. Have you ever gotten another woman waiting in the wings so you don't have to experience that?
No, no, definitely not.
Well, you need to hang out with G. What I've come to realize, let me ask Amon. Amon, you were a player, right?
No.
No? Have you ever lost a woman and it was painful?
Yeah.
It was?
Uh-huh.
And why was it painful?
I mean, it feels painful, but in the end, you see it's all pride games. Mostly you look back.
No, but before you start looking back.
It's just there on your chest. I don't know. It's a pain. It's like a wound, open wound or something. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many times have you gone through that?
Once.
Once?
Uh-huh.
Oh, good. G and I have gone through about 50 times. Right here. I went through that my whole teenage life, young adult life, and everything, because no one ever told me what was happening, why I was going through that. I thought it was normal to go through that. A normal, abnormal thing.
Yeah, but you could say it's worst feeling.
I'm sorry?
You could say it's the worst feeling.
It is.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst for sure. Why do you want to know God?
Understanding.
Understanding what?
To gain understanding, to have understanding, just in life in general,
And how serious are you about it?
I could say I'm serious because I need it. I think all the pain and everything that I go through is through because of a lack of understanding.
Yeah.
So, when I look back, at the times, the less I understood, the more I got hurt. So I'm thinking the more I understand, the more I'll be free.
Right. What is the purpose of returning to God?
Well-being.
Well-being?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Not to get to heaven.
Well, being in heaven is well-being. I think it's the same thing, but your well-being, I think, is dependent on the source, which is God.
Yeah. Interesting. Let me ask Mr. Smarty over here. You want to know God?
Yeah.
And why?
So I can go to heaven and be one with him.
So you can go to heaven.
and be one with Him. Yeah. Oh, for others as well.
I'm sorry?
For others as well,
What do you mean by that?
to bless others.
Oh, you want to know God so you can bless others?
Well, it all works together. So
So you want to know God to go to heaven and to bless others. And what else?
to be a blessing.
To be a blessing. How serious are you about God?
Pretty serious.
Pretty serious?
Yeah.
Okay. And what does that mean?
That means that you'll do whatever it takes to make sure that your relationship is with Him.
You would do whatever it takes to have a relationship with God?
Yeah.
You would? Would you jump in the ocean?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I know how to swim.
Oh, you know how to swim?
Yeah.
All right. The reason I ask is I've noticed that, thank you, buddy, people are abnormally suffering in a great way. I'm fortunate in that I deal with a lot of people. And I realize they're suffering because they're blind and really can't see. Ed sent me a story on Marion Barry. And Marion Barry is the ex-mayor of Washington, D.C., a black man. Have you guys heard of him? Yeah. And he had, when he was mayor, he was caught smoking crack cocaine. Remember that? And he ended up going to prison or jail for a while. But he had a son. And the son's name was Chris, I believe. Is that right yet? Yep. Chris. And the reason the story was there because his son, Chris, died of an overdose. He ended up using drugs and stuff too. Marion Barry ended up using drugs and, according to the report, cheated on his wife, Chris's mother, with different women, and he was into his work, according to the story, into all kind of stuff, and wasn't paying attention to Chris, according to the story. And so Chris, smart guy, ended up on drugs too, PCP, I believe, and marijuana, and all kinds of drugs. And Chris, he was they live with the, upper class folks, with the rich folk, the stars in Washington, D.C. They had a lot of money. He had everything he wanted in a material way, but he couldn't get his life together because he ended up on this drugs, just like his father. And he ended up dating some crazy woman, all this stuff going on. The mother, he was close to his mother. Eventually, the mother died of cancer. And when she died, it really impacted him. What was interesting about this story, Chris's godmother or stepmother or something like that was upset at Mary Barry because he wouldn't spend time with the son. And so Chris ended up dying. And when he died, rather than burying him next to his father had bought a little burial site where he could be buried with his son. And she refused to do it. She ended up cremating him. And she said she did it because she didn't really like the father. And she was trying to make sure that Chris can reunite with his mother. So she burned him rather than bury him in the plot that the father had bought. And first I would think, how she knows that he's going to end up with the mother just because she burned him. And I hear a lot of people say when someone dies, another family member dies, oh, I know they're together now. But how do you know that? You don't know where they go. But anyway, what was interesting is that the son's life became just like the father's life. The money, the prestige, none of that could stop it. But because the father was out of control, the son's life was out of control as well. I'm counseling with a man who called me up, and he's really having a rough time right now. And he told me that he walked into his home, his father's home, and found his father hanging. His father had hanged himself because his father could not deal with the issues of life. He just had a rough time dealing with life. Ended up on that medication that you take, antidepressant pills and things like that. And he said now he's feeling the same thing that his father felt. He feels anxiety. He's also on pills as well. He's tried to commit suicide, walking right in the footsteps of his father. I had an 80-something-year-old man call me. He heard me on a radio show, and he called me up, and he's asked me about his relationship with his wife. He and his wife been married almost 50 years or so, maybe longer. And now his wife is ill, and his children are out of control. They hate him. At least one of them really badly hate him. And he said that he used to tell his wife when the kids were young, you know, we are a Christian family, and we're going to live as unto Christ. And so I guess she agreed to it, but she wouldn't do it. She spoiled the kids. He would tell her, she would make dinner and you know, cook all the stuff, serve the dinner, wash the dishes, and do all that stuff. And he would say, have them come help you with the dishes. And she just would not do it. He was like, I don't understand why my wife wouldn't do it. Now my children are tripping. You know, they have a good education, but they can't function in life. One of my daughters hate me, and I've been trying so hard to get her to work this out. I told, you know, trying to help her, and she won't let me help her, and he's, you know, not feeling well, so he's thinking that he's going to die, so he want to get this thing done before he dies, trying to work this out with his daughter. And I said, well, you know, your wife turned your daughter against you. He's like, no, she didn't do that because she never said anything negatively about me to my children. And I said to him, well, it wasn't in what she said, it was in what she did. You're telling your wife how to raise the kids, you know, make sure they help and do this and, you know, that. And she refused to do that. And that's still turning the children away from the father. You don't have to use words to do it. You could disobey your husband and end up turning the kids away. And so he started pondering that. He's like, yeah, you're right about that. I used to ask her, why don't you do what I tell you to do? Why are you not following the instructions? And she just would not do it. This is him telling me this. He just didn't understand it. She wouldn't do it. And he said he talked to his family member about it. He talked to the preachers about it. Nobody had the answer until he heard me on the show and we talked. He finally, and he's so happy. He wanted to even fly out here and bring her with him. To get, he wanted that bad. But what I noticed is that I would ask him, well, how do you deal with your daughter? And the way he dealt with her trying to work this out was just like a mother would deal with a daughter. He wouldn't let her feel any pain. He would just try to still offer her material things and apologize. I'm like, that's not the way you do it, buddy. You're going to have to do it the way a father would do it, not the way, you know, the mother would do it. And he caught on. He was like, this is good, right? But I'm looking at this relationship show, and in this show, the host is weak. And what I noticed is that the men are not able to function without the approval of the woman. It's like, kind of like what I was talking about earlier, men and women do it too, as you said. When they are hurting from relationships, they run to God. You know, but if they can get that woman back and get that, you know, relationship going again, the pain is gone, so they feel like things are fine. They don't necessarily need God. And so I've come to realize that nothing is going to work until we return to the order of God. Nothing else is going to work in a relationship. The kids are going to end up screwed up because the order is broken. And nowadays, if you talk about God's order, they call you a woman hater, all the kind of hater, right? They have set it up where men are so subject to the woman, it's not even funny. Like when we were growing up, we knew when we were weak, we knew we were weak. And if we were in denial about it, somebody's going to tell you, that's weak. You're weak. And they didn't mind telling you. But now, when you tell men how to deal with relationships, if you bring up that order, you're considered to be hating women. And And that's been taught over the years that men have given up the idea of really being a man in a relationship. I even know men who pretend to want to know God. They act like they pray, they carry on, but they will not let the woman know they're into the God thing. Unless they're one of those people that just quoted the Bible, but yet, not doing anything. I know men who are into God, but they're still having sex out of wedlock. They're still catering to the woman. They're still carrying on with the woman. I'm thinking, what are you thinking? Why do you think this is going to work? It didn't work before. It's not going to work now. And men are too afraid to be, either they don't know or they are too afraid to be a man in a relationship or without the relationship. And so there's this order, this spiritual order to life. And that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, woman over children. Christ gets his love from God. The man gets his love from Christ. The woman gets her love from the man. And the children get the love from the mother. It's passed down. But it's been turned around where the men now are trying to get love from the woman. And she just doesn't have it to give. It's not set up that way. It's never going to work. And poor men are going to always suffer. Nothing that you do in those relationships will work because it's out of order. And women, my heart goes out to women because they need that order from the man. They are subject to the man in that manner, and women are angry and diseased. They got cancer and all that kind of mess. They'll lose the weight, that thing where they won't eat. What is it called?
Anorexia.
Yeah, because they need something from the man that he refused to give. Because he's trying to get it from her. And then the kids are suffering because of that too. Love comes from above, not from below. And the children will suffer the sins of the father because that's what you're putting out to them. Your spirit is corrupt, and no matter how you deceive yourself, you can tell yourself, oh, this is equal, we're all the same, this is my partner, whatever. I hate that word. I don't even use it in business anymore. But I'm telling you, men and women, if you don't return to that order, nothing else is going to work. It's not going to work. And the world, you can let the world deceive you if you want. It's not going to work. The man would never have peace, the woman would never have it, and the children would never have it, and it would get worse each generation. And there's nothing worse than a weak man. And no wonder it make women sick. They hate weak men. Because it's like, imagine you looking up to Christ to be your head, and he's weak. He's chasing the woman. He's trying to get love from her. He's afraid to speak up. He's on medication. He's into all the wrong. Would you respect a Christ like that? And likewise, women can't respect you guys. They don't respect you when you need them. They need you. And it's all messed up. And evil is so clever that it got it where you can't even speak about these things. Where you can if you had the courage and if you really love God. But most people don't speak about them because the world will destroy you. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if you're divorced, how does it go from, the father, Christ and man to woman to children?
If you're divorced?
Yeah, how does that work?
Well, as long as you
cut the woman out.
As long as you love the father and you have children, through your marriage, well, it's going to come straight from you to your children.
So
you don't need the wife there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it'll come from you because you are the Christ over your family. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know men who won't even tell their woman the truth. They won't correct her because she might get angry and sleep on the couch. or she might leave, and they hold back from. I know men who claim to know God, but out in the world, their friends don't even know. They go right along with the world. So you don't know God when you're living that way. The power is in the man. It's not in the woman. Adam, prior to the fall, Adam had a relationship with his father. It was the son and the father, or the father and the son. And as a result of that, he needed nothing else. Nothing. That's why when the fall happened, when he listened to the woman and he fell away from the father, and God said, Adam, why did you do this? You know, what happened here? And his first statement was, well, you gave it to me. It was you who gave me this woman. I didn't ask for it. But we got to get this thing in order, because no government, no lying to one another, no pretending, no being afraid to be a man is not going to make things better. And the reason that all of us, men and women, should want to return to the Father, not because so that you can go to heaven, so that you can have that relationship with your Father that is perfect love, that causes you and prevent you from becoming subject to the world around you. So when you do meet a woman, you don't have to have sex with her. You're not afraid to be honest with her. She can then look up to you and respect you and come into your world, because she can see that your world is about love. It's about God's love, not love that comes from in that fallen state. She is subject to you. And once you get her, bring into your world, she is with you until death do you part. But if you need her, it's not going to work. It's just never going to work. And so many divorces, so many out of wedlock children, everything is messed up because of the men not returning to the Father and loving Him with all their heart, soul, and might, along with nothing else. This report with Mary Berry's son is sad, because he could have had a good relationship with his father. But the father didn't know. The father didn't have the relationship. Nothing else is going to work. You can get all the money that you want, you can live in fine homes, and you can be a movie star, but unless that order is there, nothing's going to work. Yes, James?
This is a question from YouTube chat. What happens to a woman who doesn't find a husband? Who is her headship? And does God love her as much as He loves a man?
If she loves her earthly father, then God will work through her too. She doesn't have to have a husband in order for that to work, but she got to love her father, her earthly father. If you don't love your father, it's not going to work. And it's sad to see, when I say sad, I don't feel sad, but I feel for the woman, especially with Christians, that you claim to be a Christian, but nothing changed about you. You're acting just like you did prior to becoming a Christian. You're still running the streets, you're still sexing up out of wedlock, you're pretending to be one of the boys, you're just doing all the things you did, not even realizing, well, if I'm still acting the same way here, maybe I haven't found God like I thought I had. Because if you could at least admit that to yourself, maybe then things would change if you're sincere about changing. And when that pain comes, we talked about breaking up with a woman and how it felt, right? When that breakup happened and you feel all this pain, this loneliness, this sadness, like something is missing, and you, instead of running, getting the woman back, it's best to be still and take the pain so God can save you from the pain. And so if you do get the woman back, it'll be a different kind of relationship. Because when you go back to a woman in that same condition, the same thing's going to happen. It's not going to work because you need her. You just have a temporary feeling of, good feeling, and Satan is telling you that all is well, you're doing it the right way. He's lying to you. Nothing changed when you broke up from the woman. And you're going back to the same thing, and you find yourself repeating the same thing over again. And down the road, it messes up and you're back on drugs. Whatever kind you take. Yes, ma'am.
Sometimes men think they only hear the second part of your message, which is that they're the strong one, and they're supposed to tell the woman what to do, and it's all supposed to be that they're over the woman, but they're not with God.
Right.
And so what happens is the woman is going, what you're saying is not appropriate, or your behavior is not appropriate, and so I have to take over because you're not really you're not giving guidance through God, you're giving it through your own ego, and you're trying to kind of run everything. And I think that's why a lot of women have basically said, I'm not going to be subservient to that because it's not from God. And guys will tell you that they're Christian and that they grew up Christian and all this stuff, but they don't pray and they don't do what they told you they were doing. And so then you're kind of trying to find your way with that, because then the woman feels like, well, if you're not going to be strong, I have to be strong. So I'm not saying this about my relationship today. I'm just saying it what I've lived through before. They have to hear both parts of the message. You can't just be strong and be in charge, but you're not from God.
That's a very, very good point. The one thing I want men to know, a woman knows when you believe in God or not. And some of them know you don't, but they'll play along with it. Yeah, honey, you believe in God. Praise the Lord. 1 John chapter 2. They know when you're using the truth, but you're not that at all. You've learned it somewhere, but you're not. I mean, they can smell you a mile away. But because they want to control you, they let you think that, yeah, my husband loved the Lord. But women know. And the reason that they know is what? With the glasses. How do women know when you're not really a man of God? Are you a man of God?
Yeah.
I
I kind of had a struggling relationship, I guess you can say.
You have what?
It's kind of been hard to
Your
find.
relationship?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, growing up, it was just very hard to kind of believe that there was, I guess, an all-powerful God in the sky. But I think now I believe a little more.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've just come to find it in myself. But yeah.
It was kind of forced on you too, right?
Yeah. Well, growing up, you know how you're taught when you're younger to believe a certain way, and you just go kind of down that path that you've been taught. So after a while, I kind of just started to think a little more abstractly, I guess. But I think I found it in my own way, like later on down the line.
Yeah.
The way I am now.
What parents don't understand is that it's not what you say about God. It's not about you reading the Bible. It's the way that you live. Knowing God is not about talking about God all the time. It's about living it. You just live it. You're not talking it. You're living it. For an example, if you have truly returned to the Father and you meet a woman, you're not going to have sex with her before marriage. You're just not going to do it. And the woman knows that too. Because you have a different kind of love that you operated from now, and that love doesn't need to be validated. It doesn't need the love of the woman. You know that she needs your love, which is coming from the Father. And so you love her enough to date for 7 years, get to know her, and then get married. And bring her into that reality. But the moment you have sex with her out of wedlock, she becomes your God in that very moment. That's why you can't live without it. You can't stop thinking about it. And if you break up from her, you got to find another one or beg her back or get on drugs or whatever you do. Women know this already, but they'll play along with it because you've come into her world and she knows that she has control over you. And it's pitiful that men are letting women down. I understand why. Our parents have not been good examples. That's for sure. But we got to return to that order of life. Believe me, once you return to the Father, and the purpose of returning to the Father, yes, it is to have eternal life, because when man born of woman shall surely die, but man born of the Father shall never know death. So it is for eternal life, but it's for the love right now on earth, the kingdom of heaven on earth, which is God operating through you to bring love on the earth. That's why we are on the earth, so that God can create love through us. He's not here for you to be a good painter or learn how to build cars. You know how people are like, what's your purpose in life? Oh, I have not found my purpose yet. Can you imagine living a life without knowing your purpose? That's right. It's very hard not knowing my purpose. The purpose of mankind is so that God can create love through us. That's the only purpose. And love conquers all. So whatever your gift is, it'll find you. But the reason you're here is so the Father can create love on earth as it is in heaven. He's not here for you to be weak all your life. What? Any questions or comments? Let me take the on the line first, and then I'll come there.
This is a follow-up to the woman a woman who doesn't have a husband.
Right.
What if her father is not saved? She loves her dad, but her dad doesn't know God.
We'll tell her that she doesn't need to worry about that. Well, I can tell her. You tell her like we're on the phone, right? You just love your father. God will take care of him. But the order is, the rule is, you love your father. Don't hate him. Don't work. And ladies, stop trying to get the man saved. Well, my husband don't know God. What does that mean? You know God. If you know God, you love him and leave him alone. Because the requirement is no man get to the Father, the Creator, except go through the Father. And so men are sons of God. So your earthly father is a son of God. And as long as you love him, then you can get back to your Creator. It's not about this church stuff. It's not about that. That's why it's failing. Everybody and their mama, they meditate, they do Buddha, they quote scriptures, and lives all messed up. But yet they know Buddha. They know Allahu Akbar. They know. And lives are messed up. No love. If you don't have love, then you don't have God. If you judge your fellow man, if you judge yourself, if you make decisions, then you don't have God. It's all a game. It's a pretense. If you have fear, doubt, worry, insecurity, then you don't have God. Because the one thing about him, when you return to the Father, he's going to give you perfect peace. You'll be in the world and not of the world. Then you can have a life. And then you can get a wife, you can get money, you can get places and things. You can take it or leave it without an effort. You don't identify with it anymore. That's how you get your peace, but you can't pretend that you want God. I even know men who are raising children, and they're raising children the way a woman would raise children. They're all protective of the kids, they spoil the kids, they're afraid. And so I see a woman in them. And there's nothing worse than a child having a father who is a mother. I think that's funny. Yes, sir. And the kid's going to end up hating the father anyway with that kind of upbringing. They're going to hate you. They're going to use you. They're going to trick you. They see your weakness, and they'll play you with it as a father or a mother. And then when they become of age, when they can start doing their own thing, they're going to give you the finger. Because you have raised them with the wrong spirit. That's just a matter of fact. We need to return to the Father. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I don't think that men should be weak and selfish. I don't think women should be angry and controlling. But at what point do you take into consideration the world how if I choose to marry a woman, she can, with no fault marriage, financially devastate me and ruin my life and everything I've worked for, because that's what's in.
Right.
You know what I mean? 80%. What it's going up every day, you know?
It is.
And I don't think I'd be a man of God to place a bet I can only lose, and it's 80% chance that I lose.
That's a very, very good question or statement. And this young man want to respond.
That's like fear, isn't it?
Yes.
If you're sitting there thinking that things are going to get taken away, it's like pointless to even be in that headspace, the way I see it. Because if I go into a marriage, I'm thinking I'm giving myself to this other person, and that's it. And whatever happens after that is whatever happens after that.
That's how the world operates. The world hate men because the world is of their father, the devil. So they hate men because the evil that's working through the world understand that relationship that man has with the Creator. They know, evil knows that order. So whatever it can do to keep the man down, it's doing it. Pass laws, because it doesn't want that family unit together, right? But here's what you need to know, is that God, your Father, loves you. And if you're seeking first the kingdom of heaven with all your heart, soul, and might, along with nothing else, He's going to add the woman unto you that will be with you until death do you part. But if you're not seeking the Father, or you're playing a game with it, you'll go out and find the wrong woman. You'll pick her yourself, either on the internet or at the bar or at, some other place. Any man that get involved with a woman at a bar, don't get involved with a woman that you meet at a bar. And a woman, don't get involved with a man you meet at the bar. Those two people, they're playing a game. They don't want no serious relationship. But if you're seeking the Father, He loves you, and He'll add everything to you. You don't have to look for a woman. So when you do get that wife, she's going to respect the fact that you love what's right. She's going to come into your world, and she'll be with you until death do you part. So you wouldn't have to think about the material things and taking all your stuff. You know what I mean? But if you're not doing that first, don't do it. Don't marry one with your stuff. Or get that thing that you get. You agree that if we break up, you're not going to get my stuff.
I don't think men should be weak or selfish. I'm not worried. I'm fine by myself.
Right.
I'm not talking about me. I mean, in general, at what point do you take into consideration something like 80%? You know what I mean? That is significant. Men get custody of their children 10% of the time.
Right.
I didn't pull that out of a hat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the reality. So at what point do we take these things into consideration? You know, I believe all the way. I'm ready to go. Everything. I'm not worried about me, but I'm talking about with people.
Do you want to have a family one day?
If I do, that'd be cool. If not,
would you
that's
like
cool
to have
too.
one?
Whatever God has in store for me, I'm fine with it. Either way.
I think that we should fight against that because the children suffer when men are treated that way, especially if they divorce or break up and have kids.
Which is my major
so the
concern.
law needs to be made.
So when I talk to people and they say, I love this woman, and part of me says, you know what, marry her, man. It's going to be great. And part of me is like, don't marry her. It's not going to be great.
Oh.
That's the reality. That's what's really going to happen.
Well, in all honesty, men are getting what they deserve because they love the world more than they love their father, the Creator, the earthly Father and the Creator. And so when you love the world more, then you're going to get that kind of stuff happening to you. So you get in life, you get what you deserve.
So what you're saying is don't take it into consideration. Ignore it.
No, we should fight against it, because it's not fair that a woman get all your stuff when you leave. You have to live too.
Right,
and it's not fair that you get your kids. But the problem is men don't have the courage to fight that. They
I'm
don't
not
know
afraid
how
of
to fight it.
women taking money from me. I'm really not. And that's usually where this segues to, is that don't be afraid, she'll love you. But do you, as a man of God, ignore the world? Sign on this paper. We're going to take everything.
No, you don't.
Okay. That's my question.
That's a good question. As a matter of fact, when you truly are a man of God, meaning you return to the Father, I hate calling it a man of God because it's really just, it's simple. It's as simple as it's just a return to the Father. Adam turned away from the Father and fell into this fallen state, into the darkness. Christ came and turned back to the Father. Well, he made a way so we can turn back to the Father. And that's all is required, that we return to the Father, then we can have a life. And so if a man has truly returned to the Father, he's not going to look away at what's happening in the world. He can now deal with it because he has the right authority in him, working through him, to defeat the world. But if he has to return to the Father, he's going to be defeated. So we should, I deal with what's happening in the world all the time. But with power now, because I don't care what they think. I'm not afraid of losing stuff. I see that this is wrong, what's happening to the family. And I see who's doing it. So I fight back. So you got to deal with your environment. God doesn't want you to be in an environment where you're not doing anything simply because you're a Christian. You know what I'm saying? He wants you to fight. Christians should be involved with the government in every aspect, because if you don't, then evil is going to affect your life too. And that's what they've done. They've allowed the children of the lie to tell the Christian it's a separation between church and state, and they're removing God from everything, and it is affecting all of us. But we should fight. You absolutely should fight. Yes?
This is a little off topic, but how do we forgive our parents if they're no longer living? You can't go to them and apologize for resenting them.
That's a good question. Self-knowledge. Self-knowledge will cause you to forgive your parents. It really will. Know thyself, and until you can know yourself, and knowing thyself, it doesn't mean like, and I hear this, let me ask real fast. Who know themselves? I got 3 people, and they were scared. One did this, and one did this, and one kind of did this. In the back, you know yourself?
I feel like I know myself fairly well, yeah.
And what does that mean, to know thyself? Or self-knowledge?
Self-knowledge. I don't know, just like kind of like knowing myself in general.
That's not helping the lost person walking down the road.
I know. I'm not sure. Should somebody else answer? I'm kind of like knowing myself. I'm not sure what to say. But knowing myself, I don't know.
You don't know?
Yeah, I just kind of.
So how do you know yourself then?
I get up, I do my stuff, every day. And
you smoke pot?
No.
Oh.
No.
No, I'm kidding. How do you know yourself? What does that mean?
Not really in a literal sense. You kind of know not just where you come from, but who you are deep down. And I guess if you have love, I know my father and I know my mother, and I love them both.
How do you know yourself? How do you know yourself? These are the 3 guys that raised their hand.
They're all lost. Let me see what I can make up. No, well, when you said that, I in my mind, I'm thinking I know myself because I've just things I've done wrong, things I've done right, and and I know myself in the moment of in the moment. I don't know myself in the future. I don't know myself in the past. You you don't really know, but in that moment of that day, you're knowing, I know myself. So
okay.
It's like, that's it.
All right.
Tell them what self-knowledge is. It's a state of non-judgmental attention.
That's right.
Easy.
It's a state of non-judgmental attention. Without even asking why. You just go within, keep your eye on what's going on, and have no opinion about it at all. Because if you start watching, and I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I know myself," and they start naming all this stuff, I'm like, that's stupid. What you do, because if you start saying, "I'm like this, and I'm like that, and I'm like this," you're still judging yourself. You are making a decision about yourself, and God said, of ourselves we know nothing. and of ourselves we can do nothing. But if you can observe yourself without an opinion, you can know thyself. And it's mind-blowing. Because you're not involved in it, it's being revealed to you. We don't know right from wrong unless it's revealed. We don't know ourselves unless it's revealed. And knowing thyself is nothing that you can ever imagine. It's not what we've been taught. Isn't that amazing? The problem is mankind, human beings, love to play God, and so they feel like they have to have a decision or a judgment about everything. They think they know, and they really don't. Human beings are as dumb as a doorknob. So here's what I recommend, that you get serious, and I don't mean freaking out serious. Keep it lighthearted, about returning to the Father. That's what salvation is about, a return home to the Father, and all things will be worked out for you. It's not about claiming to be a Christian or playing Christianity and yet living another way. It's about just simply returning to the Father and become a child unto your Father. Know nothing. Don't try to do all this madness. Let go and let your Father, the way a child would do with a father, if he had a good father. So for men and women, return to the Father. That's all it is. That's all salvation is about. Coming back to your natural state of being, which is the nature of your Creator. All right? So I encourage you, when that pain comes, when that loneliness comes, when that fear comes, just relax in it and take it. Don't reach out here to find nothing to fulfill it. And it's going to feel like you're falling apart. It's going to feel like death. And it is a dying, it's a death of your ego. And to guys, when you break up with these women, let them go and take the pain. Because all you're going to do is find another woman or go back to that same, we'll end up in the same hellhole. Then you're going to have some children and they'll be messed up. And women, don't hate weak men. You know, be honest with them, but don't judge them. And get a feeling of God. And so this guy called me out of nowhere. I thought, my girlfriend, I want God. I want to know God. Can you help me? I want God. And they're like, teach me how to pray and all that. Real serious about it, just freaking out. And so I said, okay, I'll help you. And so I helped him for a little while. And then he went and got his girlfriend back. And then he broke up with God. I haven't heard back from him since. Isn't that amazing? And the thing about it, he's back into the same old thing, so the outcome is going to be the same. Because she saved him again. Isn't that amazing? Gee, you ever broke up with a woman? Were you a player before you became a Christian?
A little bit.
Yeah, you look like a player.
No, not really. A couple times.
What did it feel like to break up with a woman?
Man, it's horrible.
It's
horrible. Like, you're sad, your stomach's turning,
Yeah.
you're thinking about her all day. You can't do nothing. You can't even sleep.
I know it.
Just looking at the phone.
All the sad songs sound good.
Yep.
Even the ones you didn't like before.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that men feel that when they break up with women?
Well, I guess there are enough songs about it that I guess some men feel that way, but I certainly don't think all men feel that way.
All those who have gotten into her feel that way.
Okay.
Yeah. They can't eat, can't sleep. They're sitting by the dock of the bay. What love got to do with it? I want my baby back. It's horrible.
God, because I want to have a personal relationship with Him. I want to be one with Him.
And why?
It makes me feel happy.
It makes you feel happy.
Yes.
And so, do you have that already?
Yeah, I have the happiness.
Is
with
it from God?
Yes.
It is? How do you know it's from Him?
Because He's revealed it to me.
Oh, so
Through
He
every
gave you
day.
some happiness, and then He revealed to you that He gave you the happiness?
Yes, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
And what made you decide to look for God?
Maybe not having, maybe not having God completely, or just a feeling of missing something.
How do you know that you didn't have God? I have a reason for asking this, and I'll tell you in a minute. How do you know you didn't have Him? What made you know that?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
Maybe if I'm still suffering.
I'm sorry?
If I'm still suffering. Yeah.
If you're still suffering,
Yes.
that will let you know that you did not find Him?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Do you suffer now?
I don't think it's internally. No.
Other voices in my head, but when I feel like I'm close to God, I feel like I'm in a better place.
When you're close to God, you feel like, so there are times when you're not there. You go in and out of it.
I would say so. I mean, sometimes you despair. You
Right.
think that things aren't going to get better, or why did this have to happen to me? And then I just tell myself that there's a reason for it and that it'll make me stronger and I need to get through it.
How serious are you about finding God?
I'm pretty serious. Yeah. I don't know how you measure that.
I'm counseling with a man in another state, way over yonder, and he called me because he broke up with his girlfriend. And he was like, really, you know how I feel when you break up with a woman? Anybody ever had that feeling? Isn't that something? What does it feel like when you break up with a woman?
If you felt like you loved that woman, then you're going to feel like the world is over.
Like
the
what?
end of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't eat, you can't sleep.
Right. Can't eat, can't
You're
sleep.
sitting by the dock of the bay, watching the time go away. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Why do you think it feel that way?
Why does it feel that way? I mean, maybe we get that feeling of God with that woman.
You think?
Yeah.
Oh,
Or at least we think that's what it is. And
that's exactly what it is.
yeah.
Man,
So, so spiritually, I don't feel that way.
I'm sorry,
Spiritually, I don't feel that way.
but you're suffering externally, but not internally.
Sure. Yes.
Oh, okay. How are you suffering externally?
Externally, maybe just having to do with my body or sleep, just different things like that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay. I understand that.
Yeah.
Give the mic to the lady in front of you. You want to know God?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
And how do you know that's what you want?
Because there's a promise of serenity and safety with God.
There's a promise of that?
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean, serenity and safety?
Well, people call it happiness, people call it whatever, but I think that, I mean, there's a promise of eternal life if you walk with God, if you accept God. And I think God is there to show us the way, how to live on earth among other people and have a promise that you'll have a better life.
Who told you that?
I guess I got it from religion when I was a kid.
Right. You heard about that, and you believed it as a kid.
Yes.
And you. So how's that going for you? The God thing.
Pretty good, as long as I sort of remember it and try to walk with God. Sometimes I wander away and listen to.
I'm glad y'all showed up. It's wonderful. Okay. Anybody have a week? You had a life this week. Nobody had a life except one person. How many of you want to know God? Right here. Why do you want to know God? Why are you bothered even trying to find God?
I'm just learning, or I'm just starting to revisit God right now over these last few months.
And why?
I was out of my father, the devil, for years, and I saw some light, and I started coming back to church, and I started revisiting the idea of God more and more, and now I'm interested to know more, and I want to know more.
Right.
But maybe a few years ago that I would have felt differently.
I'm sorry?
A few years ago, I would have felt differently.
So
about
there
that.
was a period in your life where you were not concerned about God.
Yes.
And so what brought you to the point of being concerned? Like you want to know him?
I wasn't happy. I didn't feel happy. People around me weren't making me happy. And I had an inside feeling of happiness, but I didn't know how to get there. And once I started understanding God and learning more about them, I started to find happiness. It was a really weird sense inside of me, but the more I learned about him, the more I understood how to be happy.
Yes.
And the more I want to learn about him.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Way in the back, why do you want to know him?
I want to know